Hey everyone, happy Friday. I want to talk about Ethereum today, which is bouncing right from that $4,000 confluence of support that I've talked about. So here on the weekly time frame, you can see that we have a long-standing trend line off of the March low from last year. And we do have several touches here, which is great to see. So this is a very strong level at the moment. And it also intersects with this trend line off of the previous all-time high. So this right now is a confluence of support right down here around 3,800. And for those of you who don't know, a confluence of support or resistance is simply an area where two or more levels come together. Now, in this case too, you can see where we also have a horizontal that runs through here on the weekly time frame. All right, so if I move in, you can see where we also have a horizontal that does intersect with these two trend lines here. And this level is also why we're seeing this bounce right now from Ethereum. So on the weekly time frame, you can see that this was the highest weekly close, the previous highest weekly close back here. We had the same thing through this area. And of course, Ethereum since broke out. So it's natural to see a retest of this area. Now, just keep in mind that this area right here, this confluence of support, extends all the way down toward potentially even 3,700. Okay, so we're not necessarily out of the woods yet. Even if we do see a move higher, it could be a relief rally, and we may see a bit more selling down here into this $3,700, maybe $3,800 area. Of course, it all depends on what happens on the daily chart, which I'll discuss in a moment. All right, so one last thing before we move to the daily time frame is I do want to point out my one concern with Ethereum, and the same thing goes for Bitcoin, is, since we've had this pullback, so since this pullback back here, we've had a decrease in volume. Now, during consolidation like this, it's perfectly natural and healthy to see volume decrease. Okay, now the one thing you do want to see, especially when a market starts to break to all-time highs like this, is you want to see volume increase with the price. And so far we haven't seen that. Even though the price has been moving higher, the volume here has been pretty flat. Now, the one thing about volume is that it can change in a hurry. So if we got some kind of catalyst to push this market higher and we saw volume start to increase, that can change very quickly. Okay, so this is not doom and gloom. However, it is something to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. Once this market rebounds from $4,000, again, you want to see the volume start to increase with the price to show that increase in demand. Now, moving into the daily time frame, all right, we have a few levels to keep an eye on here. That really it's just a matter of whether or not Ethereum can reclaim these levels on the way up. Okay, so the first one you can see that going back here to some of these highs, right around $4,200. You can see this was resistance through here, resistance back here, and then it flipped to support on these candles. Now, since Ethereum broke back below this level and closed below it yesterday, 4,200 is now resistance. So this really comes down to a matter of, can we see Ethereum close back above this area, just above 4,200, reclaim it as support as we move into the weekend? If it can, and this area flips back to support, then we could see a move back here toward 4,400. All right, that's going to be the next key area, followed by 4,600, and of course then the all-time high. Just keep in mind that, as I said, we could see Ethereum actually move lower down here into this area, right around $3,800, and still be constructive. That's not to say that it will happen, but if we were to see a rotation lower, either from 4,200 or 4,400, all right, and a second leg lower down here, the chart would still be constructive overall. And speaking of which, if I move out here and we look at the big picture, Ethereum is very much still in an uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. It's still holding above that confluence of support around 3,800. So all in all, guys, in the big picture, the Ethereum chart is still very constructive.